It's a great pleasure to be here with you again and share some words and also share the Word of God, which is actually more importantly. I felt like today somebody was been reading my outlines because everybody's been talking about fear. And that is what we're actually going to be talking about today. Um, I've never felt so scared after I departed from here, from Alabama, and somebody gave me this piece of advice to go back to Texas, which you all know, uh, and give them a special message. Now, I didn't know if I should bring this message to them in front of the whole congregation or just, privately. They told me just to tell them, roll tide. I don't know what that means. I was about to stand up in the front of the congregation on a Wednesday evening, about to say that, and I was like, wait a minute, you don't know what that means, so you should just hold your horses over there. Anyway, I did it, and they marked me. So anyway, fear. Fear is something that we all face in life. I think that it is normal to feel scared of some things. It is normal to be afraid of some things in life. That's normal. Now, I don't think it should be something that we will lead to overcome in our lives, to succeed in our lives, to stop us of doing something. We will see in a couple of minutes how this was a problem for the children of Israel while they were journeying to the promised land, in Canaan's land. When we let fear overcome in our lives, we will get stuck in our lives. We will not be able to grow. We will not be able to actually grow in faith with God. So just to get a little bit of context, when God called Moses to help him to deliver the children of Israel from the land of Egypt because of their bondage over there, and they passed across the Red Sea, and then we will see in chapter 14 their first complaint after crossing the Red Sea. We will see more complaints and more complaints. We'll see in Numbers chapter 11, they're complaining about the food, they're complaining about the water, they're complaining about everything that is going on. Something that we need to understand is that when we're traveling in life, there will be a lot of challenges. We will have a lot of things in our life journey that will challenge us, and they are needed. There's two things that we can do. We can complain about them. We can just get scared of them and be all full of fear, or just embrace them and trust in God and trust in God's promise. But we will also face things like other one's opinions, the opinions of others, what they have to say to us, or what they think about what are the things that we're passing through. So we will go to Numbers chapter 13, and we will see a particular occasion there when the children of Israel were approaching the land of Canaan, and God said to Moses to send 12 spies to spy the land, to see how were they going to, the proper way to approach the land and defeat them, and so they can receive the land from God. There was commands that they were being given to them, so they needed to obey. And when we see in chapter 13, verse 2, when God said to Moses, send men to spy out the land of Canaan, the word spy, and I think that's in English too, is to go like sneak in, like go and take a look, find out which is the weakest point on how can you come in. I was in the military, we use that word a lot, and it doesn't mean like you go there and you see how are you going to be defeated. You're not going to get close to your enemy and come back with a report and think or be thinking of how he is going to defeat you. You're trying to analyze everything and think about how are you going to do it. And that was the purpose of sending to them. But as they come back, we will see two different perspectives. And we will see there how powerful perspective is in our lives. So let's go to verses 27 and 28, and let's look over there after the 12 spies came back and start to give their report to Moses. We will see over there reading verses 27, 28. I have to say I'm reading from the New King James Version, so just to let you know. Then they told him, excuse me, then they told him and said, we went to the land where you sent us, and listen to this, it truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. So they were affirming that is actually what God had promised in Exodus chapter 3, verse 8. That was the land that God has promised to them. The land that flows with milk and honey. But then the other ones start talking also, and they start giving the report, continuing with the report, and they say, nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. Giant people. When we look our life journey, that's what we actually see. A lot of big challenges in our life. I will say something. When I was in high school, that was a big challenge for me, and I was always scared of school. I've been always very scared of standing up in front of people. I don't know how I'm standing over here, actually. But there's things that we need to face, and we need to embrace them in order to fulfill God's promises and God's plan too. We cannot be always opening our hands and just willing to receive everything without doing anything. But it's not going to help anything at all if we're having a bad perspective of things. When we go to Matthew chapter 6, actually, we will see there Jesus talking about a very important thing. If you will turn your Bibles to Matthew chapter 6, part of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says something very important over there. He says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And listen, just a few verses before, Jesus was talking about where we should lay up our treasures. That's in heaven. Our vision should be in heaven, not in the things that we have around us. No, we shouldn't be walking beside the things that we see around us. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be obstacles. But that is important for us to give us strength, to give us a character, to make us stronger, to be more faithful to God. If we pay attention of all the bad things that are happening in this world, and we only focus on those kind of things, what is going to happen to us? We can do that. We can have a very bad perspective of life, or we can focus on the things that we actually can do. As we continue over here, and we see what this people is doing, we will see they are trying to instill fear. But there was also two of them. Only the 2% of these 12 spies were trying to instill love, encouragement, and that they were very well able to overcome and to possess the land. When we let those noises around us, doubts of people coming to us, and we pay too much attention to it, we will find out that doubting is a very dangerous thing. It's very dangerous. When we doubt, we're not having faith at all. Doubting is not having faith. That's the completely opposite thing of it. And let us read then verses 31 and 33, but I would like to read from verse 30 what Caleb did. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses, so after they give their report, and the people start to make a big scandal, you can imagine that. Okay, this is the land that God was going to give it to us, but what is going on? They say we cannot defeat them. So what is going on here? Why we came all the way through the desert, and why is God going to do this to us? Again, complaining, having doubts and fear. So they came, and Caleb tried to calm them down, and he said, let us go at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. It's very hard to think about that when we are going through trials in life, isn't it? Have you ever said to yourself, I am very well able through Jesus Christ to overcome these things that I'm passing through, no matter how big they are? But what we usually do is to keep adding more and more to those kind of things that are happening to us. We're just let the fire start to grow, and we don't pay attention that we actually can make the decision to trust and put our side in God, in Jesus. Listen, remember what happened to Peter in chapter 12 in Matthew, verses 28 through 31. Jesus was walking in the water. He called him to come out and start walking. And as soon as he take his vision, as soon as he stopped looking to Jesus, he started sinking. And I think he didn't start sinking like slowly. I think he started sinking very fast. Like he went all the way down immediately. And that's what happened when we take our sight away from God. We start to sink. So let's read the next verses. Then it says, but the man who had gone up with him said, we are not able, this is the other side, to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Wow. What a bad perspective they have about them. What a bad thought. That was so bad. They completely forgot that God was with them, that God was over there, that God was the one who had brought them up to that point. It reminds me to what it says in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 6. So we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, I will not fear. I think it's a direct quote from Psalm 23. What can men do to me? Where are we God? Why should we be afraid of? Is there anything that is bigger than God? Is our problems bigger than God? And if we read in the last section of Hebrews 13, verse 5, it says, for he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. But the first one leaving God is us. God is not the one who depart from us. We're the one who leave and go away and run away. By stating these kind of things, that's what the children of Israel were saying. They were the ones living away from God. It was not God. God was there. He was already commanding to send the people to spy the land and to look how were they going to come in. But these people instilling fear and doubts in them, and that things was keeping them and holding them back so they couldn't go forward. And I think this happened every day. So bad that youth people is not here today, but I had some things to say because that usually happened to when we are young. We will hear a lot of things and a lot of people, bad comments and making fun of us perhaps, and making the life as a Christian more difficult. And it's very bad when we try to listen to those kind of comments, and we will have them. And we know as Christians, we will always hear those kind of things, and make our journey more difficult and try to make us go astray from God. But there is one that wants to remain faithful, and there is where we have to be, to stand firm in faith, as Joshua and Caleb did. Let's read in chapter 14, verses 6 through 9, what it says. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes. And they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. It's not only good, it's exceedingly good. So it might be that it's even more than what we were expecting from it. It's very good. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. They were given a wonderful advice to these people. And listen, what happened next is incredible. How can we get blinded when we get the bad comments? Why? And we need to ask these questions. Why we always think that devil is more powerful than God? It's not that way. We know the race have been already, we know who's the winner at the end. There's a victory already set. Jesus Christ died on the cross and he won. God has told them, this land will be yours. All you need to do is follow my instructions. Do what I'm telling you to do. I love what Romans chapter 8, verse 37 says. We're more than conquerors when we're through Jesus Christ. We're more than conquerors in Christ. When we have Christ in our lives, but having Christ in our lives doesn't mean just like being here and sitting down and listening to the preacher every day. It's applying this to our daily life every single day, putting our all trust in God, that we can overcome every situation when we put our all of our burdens unto him, and he will take care. But when we try to take control of things, we're not being wise. When we try to help God, we know it will never come the right way. We need to stand firm in faith. Now, it's very interesting that even though we don't remain firm in faith, God shows us that he remains faithful in his promises. He remains faithful in his promises. And look what happened then next. And it ended up with a question over there, chapter 14, verses 10 through 11. It says, and all the congregation say to stone them. This is what their reaction was. They wanted to stone because Caleb and Joshua was telling them that they were very well able to overcome the land. Now, look what happened. The glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of meeting before all the children of Israel. And to me, that means like God was protecting them from these people. Why will God allow faithful people to be killed when they were actually telling them the truth? We are very well able. God was the one who delivered us from the bondage of Egypt. God is the one who has delivered us from every single problem that we had in life up to this point where we are right now. Why we should doubt? Why we should have a bad perspective of the things? Why we shouldn't be faithful to God? God has done many things in our lives, so why we should step back from where we're going? We're so close to it, but we decide to keep a step back. And then God said to them, how long will these people reject me? And how long will they not believe me with all the signs which I have performed among them? How many things, and you don't need to answer this to me, but I want us to think, how many times, how many things have God has done for us up to this point in your life, in our lives? How many times that has God delivered us from many trials, many bad situations, discouragements, problems at home, problems with the kids, problems in society, tragedies. Someone got sick in your house and you're here. You're still here. We're still here. Shall we doubt? Shall we step back? Shall we think that there is bigger things than God? I heard one time from a friend. Fortunately, he's not a Christian, but he said something that was very curious to me. He said, you know, when you put and you write down in your notebook all the problem that you have, you realize that actually that problem is not bigger, not even bigger than you. It's written on the note. There's your problem. And I think we take ourselves for granted sometimes. And we let those things grow bigger than our faith. Today we have a choice, and we need to ask this question: who are we going to choose in our life? Are we going to choose the giants, or are we going to choose God, which there is no one and there's nothing bigger than him? Who are we going to choose today? I appreciate your time.